We talked to real swing voters. What they told us will shock you. More Perfect Union does good work. The problem is, like, I can't really watch their stuff because they agree with me, so it gets boring.
Have you ever met an open socialist before and sat and talked with them on a porch?
I have.
No, you drank it yet. You.
Am I the only one?
Yeah.
Bad reason not to watch. Benjamin, there's not really much, like, entertainment value in me just watching another person's video then going, yep. Like, you know, it has to be packaged in an entertaining format for it to be worthwhile. Otherwise, I would just spend the entire stream watching other people's videos and going, yep.
Sometimes politics is a lot less straightforward.
That's true, but it's what made Hassan really big. I'd like to think that I don't want to cast shade directionally here. I'd like to think that Hassan and I are built very differently in this respect.
Forward than we're led to believe. Especially in a place like this. Elliott County looks like any other part of rural Kentucky, but it's not. In fact, it might have the weirdest politics of any place in the country. That's because Elliott County voted for Democrats in every presidential election for 144 years straight.
Well, that's cursed. Democrat voters in 1872?
FDR, Truman, JFK, LBJ, Carter, Clinton, Obama, and then... In 2016, vote for Donald Trump?
Yep.
2020?
Yep.
2024?
Yep. Definitely.
The single largest swing from Obama to Trump happened right here. But a few years later, something just as surprising happened. Elliott County voted for Governor Andy Beshear, a Democrat. So what's the deal with Elliott County? Is it just an outlier? Or is there something deeper going on here?
You know, people really do forget that there are parts of America that are developmentally around the same as, I guess, like outlying Philippine villages. You know what I mean? Like you might as well be in the backwaters of Mexico, or just like you're borderline like Chinese peasantry out there in the sticks. Just drive through West Virginia, yeah.
Here, something with implications that could reach far beyond Eastern Kentucky. Did you hear that? Is that on camera?
Here's one. You might recognize what's going on. I don't know.
I couldn't tell you. If you told me you paid me $100,000 to tell you what's going on here, I would be broke.
Yeah.
That guy is Donnie. He runs the Big Four store in Elliott County. Here you'll find Union stickers, Trump shirts, and a rare collection of fine art made by Donnie himself.
This whole video is going to be like, we taught a chimpanzee the politics of the median voter, and it hanged itself, isn't it? Like, that's going to be the entire video.
So, how many generations are you in Elliott County, and who's this?
That's my dad. He built the house in 1950, and that's the house I got now. I've been here all my life, tarred pipe fitter, been in the store business for 24 years. I mean, some of the best people you meet around here.
Elliott is home to some 7,000 people, 99% white. Aside from a few churches, a gas station, and a prison, there's not a whole lot here.
A prison.
But it is known for one thing. This county, it's the only one in the country that has voted 144 years straight for Democrats. And then it flipped 45 points to Trump. Only county in America that did that.
45 points.
How do you explain that? Why did such a radical shift happen? What's your understanding of that?
Well, I don't care what, you know, if I was a coon hunter and I bought a dog, and I sell coon hides, and my dog won't tree a coon.
This is like exceptionally classist of me, but it's also true, and I'm not in the business of selling bullshit. Like I've said before, the median voter is incredibly stupid, and respectfully, people out here in the sticks are stupider than the median America. That's a literal, demonstrable, empirical point. It's factually provable. You can argue with it if you want. It's true. So, unfortunately, if you want evidence that people's political positions are determined and swayed more by vibes than they are by policy, shit like this is probably the biggest red pill you're gonna take. You know? Because it's so frustrating sometimes, you know? Because you think that, like, well, man, they're like the people, what's that one tweet? Some people have like a noble savage view towards the working class, right? Or towards rural Americans, where they think that, like, oh, well, deep down, they all just want unions really bad. And it's like, I don't know. It's pretty wild.
I'm gonna get me another one. Same way with these two guys. Biden ain't done nothing for me, and I'm gonna switch to a new dog.
What do you think of George W. Bush?
Piece of shit. I started out a Democrat because my father was. And that was just something, it's just like your last name. You're a Democrat.
You know, growing up, I was always taught you gotta vote Democrat, vote Democrat, vote Democrat.
What did it mean to be a Democrat? Was it connected to anything?
That is just how the county went. The Democrats was giving money for the county, and we were trying to get roads fixed, trying to, you know, make this county something.
Yeah.
And that's who was helping us.
When a county votes for one
So they vote based on culture rather than ideas or politics? Yep, as it ever was.
party for 144 years straight, it can be hard to know where that kind of loyalty even comes from. Some folks say that FDR's New Deal had something to do with it. The New Deal put millions to work building roads and schools and bridges,
We need to return.
created Social Security, and established by law the right to form a union. And for decades, it cemented the idea that Democrats were a party for the working class.
Democrats were looked at for the poor people.
Yep.
They were for the poor people.
Our great-great-grandparents were Democrats, and, you know, just taught through the years from FDR on.
I wonder if a lot of this has to do with the spread of mass media. Like, over time, it seems like people's political opinions have been more and more determined by vibes and messaging than by what the party actually does for you, you know? Because nowadays, you don't have to do anything for the working class to be considered the working class candidate. There are tens of millions of Americans who think that Trump is for the working class, in stark opposition to everything he's ever done or said. You know what I mean? So it's like, now that you can consume hours and hours of concentrated political messaging every single day, and get your opinions fed to you completely disconnected from the actual policy that's being pushed by an administration, it seems like it's easier to give people narratives that are completely contrary to reality. Not to say that people haven't always been wrong. You know, it's not like people were smarter 150 years ago, but I think there's a very specific, like, disconnect between the perception of somebody like Trump and what he actually does that could only be produced by the constant proliferation of media that describes him as something other than what he is, you know?
They believe that was the union support, and it has somewhat changed in this area in the last few election cycles.
Because, like, if it's really union support that determines where these guys vote, Biden is one of the most pro-union presidents ever. That's just a fact. And Trump is one of the most anti-union presidents ever. You know, it's like, it's Trump was literally, like, praising Elon for union busting, on, like, just impromptu admitting to, like, hey, congratulations on that crime that you did, that I've just, like, made you complicit in admitting to, you know?
If you will.
Yeah.
It's changed drastically, honestly.
As recently as the mid-90s, Kentucky was a Democratic stronghold. Democrats controlled the state house, the governor's mansion, and the majority of congressional seats. But eventually, things began to shift. The party of workers and unions became champions of free trade.
You goof, it's not about being bigoted towards stupid people. It's about painting an entire demographic with such a demeaning and broad brush. I mean, again, I'm really sorry, but I do have a pretty low opinion of rural Americans. I'm sorry, I do. It's just that, like, every chart you can look at on, like, how bad a person is goes up when you get into the sticks. It's literally true. Racism, sexism, child abuse, you know, like, all manner of interpersonal disagreeability, educational level, political view. It's like, damn, man. I'm not saying it's innately their fault, you know? It's obviously not. It's just like, you know, it's something worth acknowledging. As always, you know, it's just the only reason I'm saying this, by the way, because you could say that, like, if I wanted to, I could sit here and go, hey, did you know that rural Vietnamese people are pieces of shit? Look at them. Yeah, that's right. You think they're noble proletarians, but they're actually very homophobic. Like, okay, wow, thank you for the insight, dipshit. It's like, I'm only saying this because I think there are some leftists who take that noble savage view towards the American proletariat, where they think that, like, every rural, like, Appalachian guy is just a, like, you know, Blair Mountain striking union worker in waiting, and all they need is to be handed a pamphlet, the Communist Manifesto, and then they'll rise up or whatever. And I just don't think that's true. Actually, I know that's not true.
Wall Street. Democrats stopped chasing blue-collar voters in rural areas and shifted their attention to white-collar voters in the suburbs. And that left a vacuum. A vacuum that Republicans, who supported basically the same corporate agenda, were happy to fill. By 2012...
That is true. Oh, okay, the last thing that I'll say is that the only lefties I've ever seen who get really, like, persnickety about being mean to rural Americans are the ones who live in cities. And then all the lefties who live in rural areas are like, you spit it, King. It's hell over here. It's shit over here. Please, God, yeah, get me out of this shithole, you know? It's like, yeah, they know, you know, they know.
2012, Elliott County was the last rural county to vote for a Democrat in a presidential election. Not just in Kentucky, but across all majority white counties in the South. Then, 2016 rolled around.
Sadly, the American dream is dead.
Bring it back!
But if I get elected president, I will bring it back.
I think a lot of it is that we're tired. I'm not saying that Donald Trump's not crooked. I'm not saying Joe Biden's not crooked. They're all crooked.
Yeah.
But, you know, whenever we get an extra $30 or something in our paychecks, that makes a difference.
But Donald Trump's policies don't increase your wages.
I'm doing hay to try to feed the kids. I'm doing everything that I can know to do as, you know, not only a parent,
Yeah.
but as a person, you know.
Is that getting harder?
It's getting harder.
It's getting harder as time goes on.
Yes.
How much opportunity is there for kids that are born in this county? And do most of them come back and live here?
Most of them, there's nothing here to do.
I'm not gonna lie, I also think that one of the main things holding rural America back is that they teach themselves to hate the cities. You know, like there's a massive labor drain from small America, like small town America, rural America, because there's nothing to do there and it's shit. And all the queer people want to leave because they're like being hate crimed, and the women want to leave because there's like one guy they can marry in each of these towns. You know, they want to leave because it sucks. And a lot of rural people hate the cities for looking down on them. But frankly, the city should look down on you because you suck. But it's not an innate thing. It's not like it's not like the innate nature of living in a rural area or whatever. It's that you're a victim of unequal socioeconomic development. But the fact that you won't acknowledge that, and that you're constantly glazing the small town American life, the small town American life is dead, dude. It died in the 50s. It died with Walmart. It died when all the small businesses dried up, because all the like megacorps moved in and sucked all the life out of the area with their, you know, big box prices from commodities that they get in bulk from China. And that like makes everyone have to go there to get their commodities for cheap, and the local businesses dry up, and then everyone loses their jobs and they all have to work at Walmart. But then Walmart closes anyway because they would make $6 more per year if they moved to a different area. Destiny asks, just move argument. Don't be stupid. Why does everyone get so defensive over this? I'm not saying that the people who live in rural Appalachia are morally at fault for the socioeconomic consequences they're facing for living in rural Appalachia. I'm not making that argument at all. It's completely different. You're getting mad at, you're fighting ghosts right now, okay? You're engaging in fisticuffs against ghosts. I think we have to acknowledge, like, again, this is an issue with people on the left and with, like, rural Americans. We have to acknowledge, okay? Not only is the small American dream dead, it can never come back under this economic system. And the longer we spend pretending that, like, rural America is a bastion of, you know, noble savages and proles just waiting for their revolutionary speech, the less we acknowledge reality as it is. Cities are better than rural areas. They just are. Not because you can go to a barcade, but in like every demographic stat imaginable, from life expectancy to education to everything, like in every possible way, you know? Okay, but like most states are rural. I mean, all states have rural area, you know? Right? I'd say like Rhode Island does. They all do, right? I'm saying that like, it's not a state thing. I'm saying like where you live, you know? I'm not saying you should just, I'm not blaming you if you live in a rural area. I'm just saying that it's unequal. It's not like two equal, it sucks, man. It really sucks out there. I live in Seattle, which is a really overpriced city, but you know, to my east, all of like northern Idaho and rural Washington and rural Oregon, it's like Nazis out there. Like not just rural Trump country, but legitimate like 3%er preppers with bunkers, like we're waiting to come out of the bush and start a white ethno state kind of guys. It's like, ugh, you know? It's not good. This is a West Coast view. Oh yeah, man, like Appalachia and rural Ohio are doing great. Come on, come on. As from the area, Vaush is right. Appalachian here, Vaush is right. I'm telling you, dude, it's the people who live in those areas who agree with me. I know I'm just a Beverly Hills born city slicker, okay? I get it, but I've done my road trips, all right? I've been around enough of America. It's not just unequal development, man. It's like different worlds, and one of them is better. And it's not a moral judgment on the people who live in the sticks or anything. And if you like it out there, God bless you. There are probably people who could like sell all their worldly possessions and move to the mountains of Ethiopia and be really happy out there. I don't know, but I would still probably argue the mountains of Ethiopia have poorer average socioeconomic development than, you know, Seattle. There was a concrete company I did IT for that had a private bunker, ceremonial stage, and child indoctrination artificial cave. It's mostly an affordability thing. Yeah, no, I completely get, again, I am not judging you if you're stuck in the sticks due to socioeconomic, but that's the same as people who live in like, I don't know, like Congo or whatever, right? Like, you know, like if they had a bunch of money, they'd probably move somewhere else. I imagine a lot of them. It's kind of rough over there. So like, I'm not judging. It's not a moral judgment. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm acting out trauma here because of all the people I see on the online left who have like a weirdly contrarian attitude toward this, you know, I don't know. I want cities to be more affordable, of course, you know? Sorry, Vaush, I swear I'm not trying to be shitty. This is just personal to me. I'm literally from this area. These people are not stupid villains. Okay, hold on. I'm not saying they're villains, though a lot of them are probably like really weirdo reactionary Christian far-right assholes. As for them being stupid, I mean, poorly motivated politically, it's not an innate judgment. I'm not saying their brains work worse. I'm just saying they've been deprived the educational opportunities. Come on, we know we're anti-essentialist here, right? It's layers upon layers of shit they're buried under. I agree, but I want to free them of that. I'm not turning my nose up at them. I want everyone in this country, everyone in the world to live like a good life. But but you'd make the argument they should get to live a rural life with support and dignity. Yeah, sure, everyone should get to live a good life. Yeah, though I do think that rural life in general tends to kind of suck, you know? Cities aren't the answer. There are those who don't want to live in shitty concrete jungles. Okay. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Case in point, read Dusty Poncho's comments. You're enabling that bullshit. Why are we mad at me? Okay, I looked up Dusty Poncho's comments, and the last things that were saved by the White Leaf chat logs were the conversation about Elfin Lied and how they watched it with their grandma when they were a kid. So that's like the stupid can sound like an essentialist judgment. I don't know how many times I have to say it's not an essential, like you have to be charitable to an extent, you know? You don't have to be educated to come to the right conclusions about how people should live together in a society. It helps. That's why educated people are often much more left-leaning. I think your focus on intelligence is not doing yourself any favors. Come on, guys. Are you serious? I call Trump supporters idiots 50,000 times in a row. We're watching a segment specifically on a county that swung 45 points for Trump, and now you're all getting bees in your bonnet? Come on, ridiculous. We're moving on. We're moving on.
Everything good come to Elliott County has been with a union job. You go away somewhere to work, drive 2 hours, come home, hoping to retire before you got hurt or crippled. That's the only people that have done well here.
Like the rest of the country, Elliott County has seen a dramatic decline in unions, which went hand in hand with stagnating wages. At the end of the 80s, the median household income in Elliott sat at $37,000, adjusting for inflation. Today, it's about $39,000.
Sheesh.
In other words, they haven't seen a raise in over 30 years.
You're saying rural voters are kind of dumb and cities should look down on them as kind of the reason why Dems have been increasingly losing in rural areas? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's mostly racism, not gonna lie. Also, like, again, like, there are literally a bunch of people in chat who are like, hey, I'm from the sticks and it sucks here. Please spit that shit, King. I don't know what I can do with you guys. Would you want me to be, like, more PC? Oh, sorry. Let me preface every statement. These people who are objectively lower by every metric possible when it comes to, like, political decision-making, education, personal attainment, reactionary views. They're not dumb, even though I'd call people dumb for that reason all the time, because we're looking at, like, rural folk. Now I have to adopt this patronizing, like, lefty tone where it's like, no, even though they've adopted every marker that I would use to call other people dumb, I'm actually gonna be like, no, they're like they're the economically challenged, like, working class, the underdogs of the American spirit, you know? Like, fuck off, man. Like, I have to say that shit for every Trump voter I look at? Come on.
While the cost of living has only gone up.
Even after 140 years of voting for Democrats, we have lived not in poverty, not near the poverty line, in extreme poverty.
The poverty level being so hard, it was like, does he have a rope to throw us? And that's what it was.
Trump wasn't getting votes from New York City and LA and all these big towns. He was getting votes from these little counties all across America.
Yeah.
I think it's his anger, and everybody else in this country is angry. His anger filled his campaign, and it was like, oh, I felt this for such a long time.
You see the discourse in chat? This is all your fault, chat. This is all your fault. Chat can only adopt contrarian positions. So now, rather than just engaging with the video, now they're arguing that, like, actually every person in rural America is Hitler. It's congratulations. You've negatively divide and conquer, okay? The polarization.
Relating to me.
We hear this phrase, why do people vote against their interests? Listen, it makes me mad because that's telling us we're dumb, and we're not.
Andy Beshear is the governor of Kentucky. In 2019 and in 2023, Beshear pulled off something most people thought was impossible. He won as a Democrat in Trump country.
Yeah, I mean, some of this stuff is kind of crazy. Take a look here.
Both times he won Elliott County.
I certainly think, at least for me, winning Elliott County was about waking up every day focused on the same issues that Kentuckians wake up and worry about. It's not the outrage of the day in Washington, D.C. It's things like, do I have a good job, one where I can afford to raise my family? Who is moving my life forward?
Beshear won partly by distancing himself from the National Democratic brand, which has become toxic in Kentucky. But he's not a moderate either. He ran as a pro-union candidate, campaigned on raising
Vaush comes across a huge asshole here. Your whining is valid, but how is anyone who doesn't already know and agree supposed to view? I like the people in chat who are like, Vaush, you're completely correct, but you're sounding like someone who doesn't want to win a statewide election in Kentucky. I'm not running. What? Shut up. Yeah, he's completely correct in the positions that he's empirically correct by, like, every metric, but, you know, I don't know, it just doesn't sit right with me. You kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. Come on, man. We're just starting the stream. We're just starting the stream.
Teacher pay and implementing universal pre-K. And like many folks in Elliott County, Beshear traces his political roots back to the New Deal.
FDR showed up and he produced. And my grandparents met on a WPA project. They were Democrats their entire life, and FDR...
Beshear is correct, though. That's why he wins. Okay, so are you adopting the position, then, that everything I say, whether it's true or not, just has to follow, like, the lines that you would need to follow? Should I never criticize, like, Cuban-American expats? Because if I want to win in Florida, I can't... You're the reason why Democrats are losing Florida. Why do you keep calling Cubans who emigrated to America, like, little Hitler, because they lost their plantations after Batista's regime was overthrown by Castro's? Oh, should I never talk about the Nazis in northern Idaho? Because they're not, like... They don't call themselves Nazis. They call themselves, like, white separationists. And actually, I'm denigrating a long-standing tradition in the American Northwest of like, you know, self-determination for, you know, Caucasian people. Like, come on, man. Why are you doing this? Why don't you talk like a politician who's running in every single state at the same time, even though that's not possible?
Was a major reason why.
That approach has informed the way he's governed.
Kentucky is one of the only southern states that has seen growth in union membership each of the last 2 years, and it is significant. I mean, we're building the two biggest battery plants on planet Earth. They're being built by organized labor.
Mind you, the Republicans in Kentucky who vote for Beshear also go on to vote for Republicans in the state elections. That's the reason why Beshear, who vetoes all of the reactionary stuff that gets passed through the state legislature in Kentucky, they just override the veto because they have a supermajority in both the Senate and the House. So, like, Bashir is a blue governor, sure, but he's not able to do that much with it because, you know, everyone there just votes red in the legislature elections anyway.
These projects were possible in part thanks to trillions of dollars in investments that passed under Joe Biden. But the jobs are a 3-hour drive from Elliott County, so it's unclear if those investments will translate to votes.
Did Governor Bashir earn your vote?
Yes, he did.
Did Joe Biden?
The problem is you're not very good at convincing people of your position. That's true. People often say this to me. I'm not a good speaker. Fuck off, dude. God, you people are annoying. Oh my God. I think I've identified the flaw in your argument. You're correct, but you make people angry, and this is a fault of yours. I'm going to say this in your chat where you can ban me.
Earn your vote.
No. The way President Trump ran the United States from a Kentuckian's perspective.
You're right, Benjamin. Hey, chat, you don't like Benjamin? Well, look who proved you wrong yet again. This has been great content.
Better to me than the way President Biden has run the United States. I don't really know how to dive into that any deeper. It's a perception.
Spite-based destiny arguments. You have to come up with a better way of saying you disagree with me than that, man. Come on. The average Trump voter who we need to worry about is wealthy or at least upper middle class. I mean, those are also people we have to worry about. A ton of Republican votes come from the rural white population. Why are we pretending like poor white people are the median Trump voter? They're probably the mean Trump voter. If we were just starting the stream, I wish we could stop pretending the median Trump voters poor. When did we say? When did, like, you're inventing a position? When did I say that? When did I say? When did I say the median Trump voters poor and rural? When did I say that? You're inventing a completely different position to be mad about. I think the fact that you guys are so irrationally angry is actually perfect proof of what I said about the left having a very weird, noble, savage attitude towards the rural poor in America, where, like, there's like a weird defensiveness towards them that is not the case with a bunch of other populations that I criticize with equal callousness. You know, I'm so callous to so many groups of people, but for this one, everyone in chat's getting like really sensitive, and it's like, dude, we're not talking about like crime in inner city America. We're not talking about a population where you're one misinterpreted argument away from, like, you know, adopting the position of your average Stormfront viewer, okay? We're talking about rural white Americans, all right? Probably, at least politically speaking, the most pandered to group of people in the universe. Every politician can't win unless they talk about the good old, honest, salt-of-the-earth small-town America, despite the combined GDP of all rural areas being $5, you know? Like, they're pandered to like crazy, not economically, but rhetorically. And, you know, I think you've gotten used to that. I think you've gotten a little bit too used to that, okay? Frankly.
It's odd that I'm torn here because I support Governor Bashir every day. Governor Bashir has been great for this state.
Bashir has shown that Democrats can win
Bashir
in
looks
Elliott
a bit
County,
like Buttigieg from some
but he
angles.
still isn't putting up numbers like Trump. No one is.
What's it take to earn the vote in Elliott County, and how do you think Democrats win it back?
I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't know. I can't answer that, and it's going to be lopsided again.
You might notice that at no point in this entire video have we gotten any insight into what specific policies or outcomes the people of this county want. Literally none at all.
People around here don't really feel what happens in D.C. affects them that much. I mean, they never feel it personally, other than we go to the gas pump and it's $3.33 or $3.35 or whatever it is. We're only seeing that, and so many people, you know, they want somebody to blame, I think.
All of these people, by the millions they're coming in, they are destroying your Social Security and your Medicare.
Yeah, that feel when I have no choice but to support a fascist who wants to deport 20 million Mexicans, because the gas prices went up. You know, the Saudi Arabians, you know, Saudi Aramco decided to turn the big dial called make gas prices in America more expensive so people vote red, and then people vote red.
Fear is at the heart of Trump's politics, and few issues bring up more fear than the southern border.
In Kentucky, dude, do you think illegal immigrants are racing over to your county, man? Are you like, yeah, that's the better life, dude? Your shit ass county isn't more developed than Mexico. Why would they go there? There's no jobs there. There's nothing there.
The border rank for you in the list of, you know?
Yeah, I hope more illegals go to Kentucky, because then they'll turn around and go home. Like, that's why they call it the Kentucky 360, you know? That's Trump's new plan. We build a new path for them, like a big road, and it goes right to this county, so the illegals turn around, they're like, oh, never mind.
Issues that matter.
One.
It's number one?
Yes.
How long have you felt
insane,
the way that you do about the border?
Probably in the last
180, that'd be a 180. Tell me you were born sometime after 2006 without telling me you were born sometime after 2006?
2 years. The way they're letting them come in, and it's like, you know, it's like there's got to be a stop to it somewhere.
Why do you think so many people are coming up across the border?
Well, it has to be, you know, they've got to be in a hell of a spot down there. I mean, I can understand what's going on. They just want something better.
What are those forces that are keeping us on the road, whether you're coming from Kentucky or Honduras? Why are people moving around?
Feed their family. It's not here. That's what's broke up community, too, because you had to move away from your family. You got brothers you hadn't seen in 10 years because they're stuck in Michigan on an hourly job.
They're leaving horrible conditions to come here. I get it.
Right.
I understand that.
Right.
But there has to be a right way of doing it. Where is our funding for those people? Why are we not putting it back into our Social Security, into our veterans?
Trump wants to cut veterans' benefits and Social Security. Also, it doesn't cost money to take in they produce wealth. They work. They add to the pot.
Why aren't we doing that?
You tell me. You're the leftist.
Yeah. So one of the things that I am always thinking about too is people who are in that situation, or working people who don't have the luxury to not go to work. Mm-hmm. They'll look around at other working people and say, I can't get by because of what you're doing or something. And meanwhile, in the background...
This is the consequence of Dems never going left in immigration. I actually agree. Yeah, I agree 100%. The Democrat, as soon as Biden got in office and he had to deal with the border, they completely gave up on like oppositional rhetoric when it comes to the immigration crisis. And Biden just talked about it basically the same way Trump did, but nicer, where he was like, you know, Kamala Harris was like, do not come. Biden was like, yeah, you know, we have to continue to take advantage of this one policy that allows us to completely halt border interactions because of COVID, because of the threat of like viral transmissibility. You know, we need to like be super far right in immigration. It's a crisis. They're coming for our, you know, it's a real thing to be concerned about. No pushback on the migrant crime wave rhetoric. I don't think these people are a lost cause. They're just misinformed. Man, I'm never saying anyone's a lost cause, at least not as a group, not in aggregate. It's always socioeconomic conditions. They're not different. They're the same species as you. There's nothing different about their brain. A little bit, Posada Shah. Maybe it'll be at the end of the video. I live in southeastern Kentucky, and there are literally people here who think the Mexicans in the area are waiting for orders to overthrow the government. Yep.
We're adding more billionaires year after year after year. These people having not just $1 billion, but 10 and 20 or $200 billion. Where do they fit into this situation where somebody who's cutting hay in 90-degree weather to feed the kids, where do the billionaires fit into that equation?
Good luck to them. You know, I'm glad that they have it. But how...
Incredible. I don't like the corrupt Washington elite. We don't feel like they represent us. I don't want illegal immigrants taking money from Social Security. Oh, billionaires? Hell yeah, man. They earned it. Okay, that's great.
How many people did they hurt to get it? And 9 times out of 10...
Well, do you think they did?
And they're high in a political world.
Yeah.
And they're using government funds and what they know on the insider to make that money.
You said recently, quote, when you give, they do whatever the hell you want them to do.
You better believe it.
So what specifically did they do?
If I ask them, if I need them, most of the people on this stage I've given to, just so you understand. When I need something from them, 2 years later, 3 years later, I call them, they are there for me. So and that's a broken system.
When it's people coming across the border versus, say, billionaires or something like that, who's got the most influence over the problems that you think we face as a country?
Millionaires.
Yeah.
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 Do you think you have more in common with migrant from Mexico or Donald J. Trump?
Great question.
A migrant from Mexico.
Yeah.
Okay.
A migrant from Mexico. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because we're out here working to survive to feed our families.
There are a lot of theories.
She's awoken. No, she's not. That's the problem. It's incoherent. That's the point.
About why a place like this would go for a billionaire like Trump. Maybe it's because Trump said the quiet part out loud. That politicians in both parties had abandoned the working class. Maybe he gave them someone to blame for their problems. Immigrants, queer kids, radical socialists. But here's another theory. They voted for Trump.
When did the mullet become the uniform of the, like, 32-year-old left-leaning guy? White guy, I should say.
Because both parties felt captured, caught up in a system that no one here could influence.
In their mind, they thought Trump was going to save us. He's not a politician. He's going to be a little bit different. It was completely a lie. We're just in such a dire need for things to get better that they're grasping at any straw that they can reach for.
Andy Beshear offered one alternative.
The real frustration with this, I think, is just the fact that when you look at it, it seems like it's almost impossible to change the minds of the people in this situation because their positions are so incoherent that no one argument does anything to it. You know what I mean? Like, what do you do for a person who votes for Beshear because he's pro-union, for Donald Trump because he's pro-drain the swamp, but also they don't trust billionaires, think that illegal immigrants have more in common with them than Trump does, but also worry about illegal immigrants stealing their Social Security money? What do you, like, that's like a perfect Gordian's knot of political positions that are so mutually, they're completely incompatible with each other. So there's no way, there's no, like, critical argument that you could put forward to, you put them in serfdom. Yeah, you put them in serfdom, I guess. This is when you implement the great Canadian feudal state where you just sort of ship them north and they get to spend the rest of their life harvesting turnips or whatever. Yeah.
An old school approach that reaches for what the Democratic Party used to be. A party that stood with the working class in small towns and in big cities. But Beshear is fighting an uphill battle. Even in a county that voted blue for 144 years, Trump is still winning by huge margins. How do you compete with that? Maybe the answer is to do something that Trump would never do. Unite the working class by taking on the biggest threat we face.
I just don't like the big guy because the big guy's screwing you probably, or he wouldn't be the big guy. You know what I'm saying?
If we keep fighting amongst ourselves, that makes it easier for politicians to get a hold of you.
Well, how do we get to a situation where the working class is united around common interests? Do you think that's possible?
I would love to see it.
Mm-hmm. This is what I mean. It's like, holy shit, what do you do, you know? What do you do? What do you... Yeah, I'm a chimp and I'm getting ready to hang myself. Me too, man. Me too. I can... Mass chimpanzee death all across the world. Why do we teach them this? Oh no.
Because if you could get the working class to stick together, you know, maybe it would make a difference. It'd have to.
It's like there's no solution, really. The brainworms are too strong. You know? Like, what do you do to this jumble, this combination of position? I don't know if you can do anything. It really is like median voter training, you know? It's median voter training. It's crazy. I don't know. Make 50 clone Beshears and have them run for every position. Yeah, but like, I would like to imagine that it's possible to live in a world where the working class does vote in their own interest. And to that end, the question would be like, what policy could you... Okay, I think the main issue is that small town America is dead forever. There is literally no policy that could be implemented that would fix small town America. You would need like a massive upheaval of the entire economics. You would like, we're talking like foundational changes that might not even be possible within a lifetime, you know? So it's never coming back, at least not within our lifetime. It's not coming back within like an election cycle or two, right? So it's not politically feasible. So like, what do you... Germany did it with their coal industry. That's not ideal. But even then, like, Germany's coal industry isn't really benefiting the rural areas in their country that much. You know, it's like some people profit from it, but that'd be like saying Alaska's rural areas are doing super well because of the oil, you know, the oil rigs out there or whatever. It's like it enriches some people, but How's that mindset different from a lost cause one? Because lost cause would mean the people are unsalvageable. I'm saying that that particular solution can't be done. You're not bringing back small town America. You can like invest in the schools, but what then? You get super educated Appalachian kids who get out of school and they're like, well, I'm leaving this shithole. That only contributes to the problem further. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's really rough. There might be a good chance if the Dems actually ran people locally. I agree with that, but the problem is that it seems like the only thing these guys respond to is vibes. I mean, that's most voters, I guess. That's the median voter effect, you know? Like, you could run Democrats here, but they would have to wear giant belt buckles and cowboy hats, and they'd have to be like, you know, they would have to essentially talk. It would just be a cultural thing. It would literally just be who's the more likable, who virtue signals better. It's not a policy thing. There's no policy they would go for. You just have to focus on vibes. That's Texas, not Kentucky. The main guy in this video had a big belt buckle and a cowboy hat. Well, no, never mind. That's not a cowboy hat. That's like an Indiana Jones hat, right? Yeah, sorry, I'm not a hat guy. That's not my knowledge area. My knowledge area is making chat really angry with me when I make reductive statements about the intelligence of about 100 million people. Do you think appealing to rural voters is an electoral strategy or something? Well, yeah, of course it is. Do you think these voters will switch back to supporting Dems once Trump leaves? Maybe. I mean, Trump has done better than previous Republican candidates, you know? Don't you say that's true for most voters, though, Vaush? You run a hick in Kentucky, you run a smarmy lib in California, vibes win. The difference is that liberals tend to vote in something that at least resembles their own interest. Again, like, we're talking liberals here, so we're not talking like the brightest of the bunch or whatever. But if you're voting for a Democrat, and the only options are Democrat or Republican, and you're a regular American, in almost all situations, the Democrat is the better of the two options. You can defend that position logically. Maybe vibes are why you voted that way, but it also aligns with the better of the two options. In most cases, not all, but in most cases, you know? But the opposite is the case here, right? Where the vibes align against... In this case, the vibe should align against as well as the politics. Because in any sane world, these guys would hate Trump. He's literally a coastal elite New York real estate billionaire who talks and brags about his wealth constantly. He is further from rural Kentucky than like any president ever. There's never been a president further from rural Kentucky. Like I struggle to imagine one who on a vibe basis is further from the ticket here, you know? But like, not only is Trump a New York City coastal elite real estate billionaire who constantly brags about his wealth and like does deals with Saudis and has a gold toilet and whatever, he also doesn't do the Southern pandering most other presidents do, right? When has Trump ever put on a cowboy hat? He hates the South. Do you have any idea, like, how appealing it is for a male president or presidential candidate to occasionally dress up in, like, Western or workwear and go down South and be like, yeah, I'm just like one of you? He doesn't do that. He always wears his business suits. You know? Clinton did it. Clinton dressed down. Obama did it at times. He didn't wear a cowboy hat, but, you know, still. George W. Bush spent his entire presidency doing that. George H.W. Bush. That's why they like him? That doesn't make sense. I'm going to be real with you guys. I'm still pretty sure that a huge portion of this comes down to, like, Christianity, queer panic, and race. And they're just not talking about it because the subject of the video is economics. But I bet you if you talk with a lot of those Virginian voters, like on other issues, it'd be like, maybe they have a few policies in common with the Republicans. They voted for Obama, but to be fair, a lot of racists did. Obama swept those elections, you know. Well, that's what Bashir is doing, Silfrena. I think gerrymandering is a bigger problem. Let's not pit two bad bitches against each other, okay? Gerrymandering and rural voters being dumb can be problems both. People like Trump act like people expect politicians to act, i.e. toxic and self-serving. I understand. I know. I'm American. I've been party to the discourse for 8 years now. 9 years now since Trump became like a real political force. I get it. But at the same time, you're basically describing median voter syndrome again. You want an update from my partner on the Terraria build that we're doing? In all caps, most of the brick red rocks I picked up look more mauve in the apartment light. This changes everything. I'm glad that they're having fun. Can we see it? Absolutely not. Why are you streaming instead of helping them? I'm a very disciplined worker. I think the biggest issue is that instead of focusing on their strength, Democrats foolishly try to win on issues where Republicans have more support, like immigration. I actually disagree. I think it's the opposite. I think that Democrats need to be stronger on all issues. I think that like they can't cede ground, you know? Like on immigration, they completely ceded ground as soon as Joe Biden was the man up front, you know? Really, really, really disappointing. Have you not seen what Ryan and I texted you? Didn't you send it over the Discord? Those are on the list. Would a Bernie-type presidency help? I think that if Bernie Sanders had won the primary in 2016, this county would have voted for him. I 100% believe that. I do believe that, yes. Oh, yeah, intelligent dog. Yeah, I agree with that. They can't adopt the policies. Yeah. I'm telling you, man, I really do think one of the best things you could possibly do for both, like, the economy and for politics, like your political chances of victory, is another New Deal. There are, like, literally, after you graduate high school, you have the option to do 2 years of service with, and it's done like, it's like, you know, federated, so you have the state branches and the county branches and stuff, and it's like, here you go, you make minimum wage or above minimum wage, whatever, sure, and you get some provisions, and your job is you are going to do like basically handyman work. You're going to do non-dangerous construction work. You don't need super dedicated training to supervise like pothole fixes or cleanups along the road, or there are some construction projects that are basically just like supervise a truck that drives over dirt for 6 weeks, you know? There are lots of things that you could do that don't require. I don't want young like 19-year-olds or whatever in dangerous situations, you know? I don't want them out there like doing fire watching or doing like big construction work or whatever. I'm just talking like basic, let's revitalize the country work, you know? It'd be nice. It'd be nice. I think it would do a lot to enshrine like a communal attitude in the average voter as well, you know, the feeling that like there is something to this country, there is something worth working towards and building up towards, you know? I think that'd be nice. The problem is those rural areas vote against that kind of thing. I don't think they do, because there is no that kind of thing. There's no push for a new deal, a new deal, you know, or a new, you know, that sort of thing. Listen to the way they talk about the Green New Deal, though. Yeah, but it's not the same at all. It's a totally different thing. And you wouldn't call it the New Deal. You'd call it like, I don't know, the American Revitalization Program, you know, where you get to like patriotically serve your country, and you would wear like denim overalls that have a big American flag printed on the front or whatever. Like, I don't know, just pander as much as you want, man, but it'd still be good. Plus, it would get people a nice it'd give people an option other than joining the military for basically like a guaranteed chunk of change out of high school.